Summer Game Fest Day 1 is a wrap, but there was some legit indie surprises that are probably worth a closer look. Let's see what you might have missed. All right, so we'll keep this light. It's going to be quick. Let's take a breath and take a second look at some of the titles that you might have missed. The first is Salt and Sanctuary. I actually played a lot of that game before Dark Souls was released on the Nintendo Switch. And it's a perfect, portable, Souls-like experience. You have to take great pains into exploring the levels carefully and trying to figure out the best way to defeat each enemy, because every enemy encounter is deadly. The upgrade that might have been overlooked, but I think is really cool, is that they've added local and online co-op multiplayer. So you don't have to go through this alone. I don't know what kind of saving system is involved in this game, if there's some kind of checkpoint system where you can bring your partner back, but just the idea of being able to play these games with a partner is pretty exciting. So this is definitely something I'm looking forward to. I was just talking about the impact that Left 4 Dead had on me as a co-op multiplayer experience, and I also mentioned how it greatly influenced a lot of copycats, and the Anacrusis is no exception. Now, I don't think that this game looks particularly fantastic, but it is very clean. The art looks very clean. The game has a level of polish to it, and it does scratch that Left 4 Dead itch, maybe almost too directly. The characters do copy Left 4 Dead's quit while you fight narrative technique, and while the art isn't as good as Left 4 Dead and the character designs aren't as good, the game could still be fun despite the enemies looking incredibly bland. Yeah, it's a copycat game, but maybe it's a fun copycat game, and it's also coming out on Xbox Game Pass. I've always said that one of the advantages, especially for indie and AA games, is that you could get an audience of people that would have overlooked your game if you put it on Game Pass, and the Anacrusis is clearly something that could benefit from that. Planet of Lana caught me completely off guard. This game is gorgeous, just period, just outright gorgeous. And outside of Sable, it's probably one of the most pretty games I've seen during this presentation, and arguably a really strong contender for games that should be considered art. Because of the power of these new consoles, there really aren't any limits to the imagination of what these developers and artists can create. Now, while calling hand-painted might seem like a gimmick, and that's incredibly reductive to what this game accomplishes, what it does is pull you in with just beautiful visuals. It seems to be from the Limbo School of Design, where each screen is a new environmental challenge, cinematically told in such a way that you are compelled to keep moving forward. Whatever this game is, I am definitely going to day one purchase it. It looks beautiful, and I want to get my hands on it. So Tunic was shown at E3 maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I can't remember which one I was working where we saw it, but it looks fantastic. The easy criticism is that it looks like it could be an iOS game, but I guess these days that's not a criticism at all, since a lot of big publishers want to move towards mobile. Now, while these games are a dime a dozen on iPad and Switch, there's still something really charming about Tunic that I would love to get my hands on. Apparently next week, we'll all be able to play a demo of this game and many other games shown during the Xbox Showcase on Xbox Game Pass, and that is cool. Tribes of Midgard is one that I probably wouldn't have given a second glance to if I hadn't seen this on this presentation. Once again, it's one of those games that hits all the right buttons. Games like this that are heavy on the combat, and this one is clearly heavy on the combat with tons of effects. Looks like weather effects, particle effects, lots of explosions, melee combat. This is just saying, Shola, buy me. Shola, check me out. So I will. I'm obedient. I'll listen. Check me out. This is my type of thing, and I hope that you guys don't miss it. And while it's not on Xbox Game Pass, it's clearly coming to Steam, PS4, and PS5 pretty soon. Evil Dead the game was a game that I wasn't checking for at all. I honestly thought that this was going to be a quick cash-in on the Evil Dead IP, and when they showed this game, I could not have been more wrong. Talk about polished. Talk about something that looks way better than it has any right to. Saber Interactive wasn't on my radar at all, but this is one good-looking game, and if you are into Evil Dead, as I've seen all the movies several times, this game is better than it should be. Immediately while I was watching this, I'm thinking, man, I would love for Resident Evil multiplayer to look like this, but it doesn't, and you get it here. Visually, outside of just the general level of polish, I thought that this was going to be a Friday the 13th type of multiplayer experience. And I'm not entirely sure that it's not, but it also has moments where I'm thinking, is this like a Left 4 Dead thing where you're fighting hordes together? It might be a little bit of both. Either way, the game looks incredible. Just pause for a minute and take a look at these visuals, soak that all in. And yeah, I say it all the time, everything looks good these days, but then sometimes things really stand out. And this is lovingly crafted for people who are fans of Evil Dead. Toem, a photo adventure, appeals to the photographer in me. I do fancy myself a photographer. I've been doing it for years, but I've always loved games that focus on the photography element, the discovery element of going through an environment and finding some kind of fetch quest thing that you're supposed to look for. It's almost like one of those hidden features games, you know, those games where you have really detailed environments and you go around looking for the hidden item, a heart, a scalpel, or anything, flower, anything. And this looks like one of those type of things in a 3D world. I love the art style. It's very bold to put it in black and white. It looks like there may be a lot more depth than just taking photos. Can't wait to see the developers reveal more and more features about the game. But in the meantime, still not clear what platform this game is coming to. Either way, can't wait to get my hands on it. Coming soon. Okay, can we talk about conceptually how dope Phantom Abyss is? Now, what I saw at first looked like a dungeon run, which I guess it is. You do run through different dungeons trying to complete the level. But here's the gimmick, here's the twist. You only get one shot. You die, you're dead. You never get a chance to play that dungeon ever again. And if you beat the dungeon, you lock it behind you, meaning you'll be the only person in the world who will ever defeat that dungeon. The dungeons are procedurally generated, and because it's asynchronous multiplayer, someone else can play the game, you'll see their ghost run of the game, and you will try your best not to do the mistakes that they did. It's like all the best elements of Demon Souls or the From Software games mixed with Spelunky, mixed with an endless runner. It's really, really cool. At a glance, it's very easy to overlook this title, but as gameplay hooks go, this is something special and one that I'm keeping my eye on. Endless procedurally generated dungeons sounds awesome, and owning the bragging rights of knowing that you're the only person in the world who will complete a dungeon, yeah, this game's going to go far. Assuming that mechanically this game feels good to control, there shouldn't be any limits to how far this game will go within the speedrunning community. Soup Pot by developer Chicken Club. Look, I love cooking games. It doesn't take much to convince me to check out your cooking game, and this one particularly looks special because it's trying a different approach. There's no fail state. The point is to have fun cooking. You get recipes off of a Instagram or Facebook like social feed, and you learn to make awesome Asian dishes. These aren't just hamburgers and fries and pizza and whatever the normal stuff that we make here in our cooking games. Cookbook has elaborate recipes with categories broken down into street food, breakfast food, desserts, and stuff I can't pronounce. Chicken Club, the developers, have made it clear that their goal is to get people to have fun with cooking. Make a mess, make mistakes, have a happy accident, just like in a real kitchen, and they want that experience in the game. The only thing that would make Chicken Club better is if I could play it in VR, but that's probably asking a bit much. For now, I'm looking for any information and a release date for Soup Pot. One really cool game is A Musical Story. I'm not necessarily a big fan of rhythm games, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of adventure games, but somehow putting those together in a way that's organic sounds like something very special, and that's exactly what A Musical Story is going for. The hook here is that there aren't any on-screen musical cues, not in the traditional sense like you're used to with a rock band or games like that. There's no on-screen music highway that you follow linearly. Instead, the idea is to listen to the music, to feel your way through the button presses, and instinctively know when to tap the button to move forward. And successfully completing each song unlocks the game's memories. This is how the story unfolds. The game is clearly inspired by 60s and 70s era rock and folk music, and that might not be everyone's cup of tea, but as an exploration of music and interactivity within this medium, it looks like something unique and interesting, and it looks like it's going to be available on all platforms this summer. Calling Road 96 a choose your own adventure is underselling exactly what the developers are trying to accomplish here. Road 96 is a procedurally generated, not quite open world, but definitely an adventure where a teenager is trying to escape a troubled country and encounters various characters along the way. However, your choices really do influence the direction of the story and where you go in the game. Now, what's unclear, at least in how they describe the game, is how the procedural generation elements plays in. As the protagonist, you're trying to get thousands of miles away to the border so you can escape the country. Your path is different because the people that you meet along the way is different for every player. Your story is uniquely your story. There seems to be a number at the top left of the screen that they're showing that might indicate your story versus another number that is someone else's story. I'm not sure how that plays out. It's still not clear, but assuming that the developer has created hundreds of characters with hundreds of different interactions and branching points, this approach to procedural generation gameplay is something unique and very interesting from a narrative perspective. Assuming that each of the storylines is unique and diverse enough to distinguish one from the other, Road 96 could be something that has infinite playability and something that fans of narrative adventure games should absolutely look forward to. Unbeatable from D-Cell Games. I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is. It's unclear. They said you push up and down and those are the only two movement options that you have, but that opens itself up to a simplicity that lets you do a wide variety of things within the game. I almost don't care. The game is nostalgia, pure nostalgia for me. I often say that I'm not a fan of modern anime, but I am a huge fan of the anime that I grew up on, Bubblegum Crisis, and any of the older anime that captures that feeling of music and motion and energy and rock, all of that together. That's my jam. That's what this is. Unbeatable just looks like a fun ride. Might not, who knows how it's going to play, but it's a rhythm game. Look, I don't know what this is. I just know that I want to get my hands on it. It looks cool. It's worth drawing attention to, and hopefully you might take a look at this too. Definitely a highlight of Summer Game Fest. Death's Door by developer Acid Nerve has a tough road to hoe. As soon as you see the gameplay in action, you're immediately going to draw parallels to Supergiant's Hades. And that's fair. Being compared to an incredible Game of the Year contender is nothing to be ashamed of. But what looks like really tight action 2D gameplay also has the advantage of a full world to explore. Just like Hades, this world looks gorgeous, and it's also enormous. From what's shown, there's a lot to explore, lots of characters to interact with, lots of diversity in the enemy encounters, and even if it is just a really good game in the Hades family of games, it doesn't hurt to have two. No release date for Death's Door, but I'm assuming it's soon. Behind the Frame from developer Silver Lining Studios is attempting to make playable anime. Now, yeah, we've heard that claim before, but no, this one really is trying to make a playable anime adventure. This is a strictly slice of life tale. No killing, no action, just a focus on an aspiring artist and her goal to become a professional artist. You walk in her shoes and live her life as she attempts to hone her craft and find work, but the reward is interacting in a beautiful, almost Studio Ghibli type world. If you've ever enjoyed classical, high-end animation, this game is talking directly to you. It is a point-and-click adventure game, but it does capture the feeling of being an artist as you draw and paint and create in such a way that you might not be able to in real life, but you get to enjoy in this unique narrative-driven adventure. Despelote is my favorite game on this list, and I wanted to save it for last, because this one is something very special. The story is told through the eyes of an 11-year-old boy in Ecuador in 2001 as the national soccer team makes its way to the World Cup for the first time. It's a big deal for the people in the country, and the game is a nostalgic look back at just a day in the life of being a child during this time. What's really cool is that everybody in the game speaks Spanish. The English pops up as word balloons that we can understand as the players converse. There's no big soccer event or conflict. You literally just go around the town kicking your soccer ball just like a kid would, having fun, interacting with random people along the way. And who you kick that soccer ball to and how it hits them determines how they interact with you. The other really cool choice is that the developer went around and took microphones capturing just random real-life natural conversations with people, taking great pains to capture the feel of living in that town, living amongst the people, just being in that world. And I wish we could have games like this from every country. My dad's from Nigeria, and he, like the kid in this game, spent a lot of his childhood playing soccer and kicking around that soccer ball. And these slice of life experiences really bring you into cultures and worlds that you would not normally get a chance to see. Everything about this game is amazing. And I didn't think that this would make it to the top of my list because it's, you don't do anything but kick a ball around. But kicking that ball around, talking to people, exploring that town, that's everything. And it's the very type of interactive experience that separates gaming from almost every other medium. And that's it. These were the highlights of titles that you might have missed on day one of Summer Games Fest. Was there something that you saw that probably should have made my list? Leave a comment below, we'll talk about it. But in the meantime, hit that bell below to notify you when I put out new content. Check out the Discord to join into the community conversation and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video. Peace.